Okay, calling to order special meeting of Zoning Board of Appeals for September 5th. And it looks like we need to see, actually we need to see both, right? Okay. So we will seat our two alternates. And so our first item of business is Town of Woodbridge appellant. Want to come, state your name, sign in?
Already signed in.
Okay.
My name is Doug Drost, working for Centec Engineering as a consultant for the proposed emergency communications facility located at 357 Rimmon Road.
Okay.
The business that we're here to discuss is a setback variance. If I could
Yeah.
use the
Go ahead.
drawings. This first sheet is a site survey that we prepared of the immediate area of the proposed facility and its relationship to the Rimmon Road right-of-way and the existing water tank. The facility is located in the front yard here, the proposed facility, and we have a setback, a requirement for 75 feet from the right-of-way, edge of right-of-way, and for which we are have a setback distance of 67 feet. The second setback is a required 125 feet from the center line of the roadway, and we have a setback distance from that center line of 106 feet. I just want to bring your attention to a second sheet that we provided along with the application, which basically describes the proposed facility in a little bit more detail, so you can get an understanding of what is actually being proposed here. So we have the water tank here, and what we're proposing is a 22-foot by 12-foot approximately fenced-in equipment location, which contains the tower. Here's a blow-up of that fence, proposed fence location. We have a 65-foot wood pole, equipment cabinet, 3 bays, and a backup emergency power generator. Just outside of this area, we do have a proposed 500-gallon propane tank to fuel that emergency power generator. You can see this elevation showing the proposed wood pole. We have a single antenna at the top of that pole for emergency communications. The elevation of the fenced compound area with the equipment and the generator in this location here, and then the propane tank on the side. So, looking back on the survey plan, there's a requirement by the Regional Water Authority, the owner of the property, that they can't have any structures within 20 feet of the outside face of the tank, and that's for their regular maintenance activities and procedures. So they've told us we can't be within that 20-foot offset of the tank. So we looked at a couple of different areas as potential locations. If we look at the east side on the survey plan, we have existing underground vaults, electrical equipment above grade, another vault. We have some valves exposed on this side of the tank, the east side. Just beyond that equipment associated with the water tank, we have some steep grades in here. And you can see there's a head wall here, so we are assuming that we have underground piping coming through here to drain off through that head wall. On the west side, if we continue to follow that 20-foot offset, you could see the grades are very steep in here. They're 25 to 35%, which is quite significant. There is a location in the back, for the northwest side of the property, but to get construction vehicles in through here with those steep grades, would be really tough to do. And on top of that, having an accessible driveway, and especially in the winter, keeping this area plowed, get a vehicle in here, it's not practical. So that's why we've narrowed our location down to this front yard location, and we tried to keep the footprint of the equipment area as thin as possible to keep the setback to its bare minimum, what we can do with that area.
Okay,
I can answer any questions.
people have any questions?
So you show a fence on this, this second sheet, it just, that 20-foot kind of just, touches it, is that,
Yeah, we're just out of that 20.
yeah, so but you can have a fence around it, to this communication center, is that planned or you know?
Yeah, that's proposed, it's basically security fencing.
Yeah,
And we're as close to that 20 foot.
no, I
setback as
see
we
this
can be.
outside. What about the propane tank, is that gonna be fenced off too, or not?
No, we're not calling out a fence in that area. We kinda wanted to keep that all the way up, as close to the tank as possible.
Is there any proposed landscaping?
As it's proposed now, there's not. You can see that we're calling for a removal of 3 trees on this side. Then we have some existing trees, in front here and along this side here as well. It's pretty significant cover from the road.
Any other questions? Any insights you want to provide, Carrie?
Well, I think that you have to apply the classical test that, you know, if, in looking for a hardship, that's claimed, that has to do with the land.
Right.
I think that the whole idea behind this is the emergency services, communication stuff is a key spot apparently, where we don't have coverage presently. And that for economy purposes, you're planning on using a wood pole, which is depicted on your second page.
Yeah.
Right? I think that it must be some remarkable wood pole. I don't think we see a lot of wood poles of that size. But if you can imagine if the grade drops off in the back, right? I presume that the height of whatever's on top of that wood pole is what matters in terms of its ability to communicate with our fire department and police radios. You'd only, if you would place this on anywhere else on this lot, it seems to me you need a much more significant pole to get to the same effect.
The height would definitely increase and the girth of the pole, yes.
So, I mean, I think that you know, what we've seen here is a terrain having to do with the land challenged site. I can understand that the regional water authority might want 20 feet to maintain the tank. It makes some sense. Certainly the pole is taller than the tank.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's multiple reasons why that spot was picked.
To me, yeah.
What, just out of curiosity, why wood versus a metal pole? Is it for electrical, lightning reasons, or, no?
Not necessarily. I think it's more economical, construction wise. It's a direct embedment pole. There's no concrete or reinforcement, reinforcing bars, steel. It's less expensive to manufacture that type of pole, and it's less expensive to install it.
How long does it last before they have to put a new one in?
Yeah.
I don't know if the studies have come out on these poles. They've just been around for so long. They're
Well, it's more of a curiosity on my part, it has nothing to do with the virtues
Presently,
of
if you look around town, we're replacing poles that are like 40 and 50 years old now. I mean, it's a kind of a routine sort of thing. You get, all of a sudden you see a blue X on a pole, and 6 months later they've got another pole next to it, and a year after that they've got the wires moved from the old to the new, and so I think that that a minimum expectation would be at least 40 years, I would hope, for a wood pole, right? It has preservatives in it.
No. So now, this is for emergency communications. Which emergency communications are we talking about?
Unfortunately, the town's radio consultant couldn't be here tonight. He has back surgery tomorrow morning.
It's a weak excuse.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's fire and or police.
It's both. They use the same.
So does that mean they're gonna stop blowing that stupid siren at 2
Oh,
o'clock in the
stop.
morning?
That's history. Can't get rid of
I can get rid of it.
It's part of the ambiance
that.
of the town.
Really not when you live
It's part of
close
the
to it.
ambiance. Yeah, right, I know.
Depending on the wind blowing.
Yes. Hey, it's town character.
At 6:30, it's fine. 2 o'clock in the morning, not so much. Anyway,
Get better insulation.
okay.
Other questions related to the physical hardship of the property?
You're not having fun?
Okay, thank you. Are there other people who want to testify? Okay. You want to come and sign in and then state your name?
My name is Judith Bershaw, 360 Rimmon Road, Woodbridge, Connecticut, directly across from the water tank. Okay, thank you. Do I sit or stand or?
You can sit in the
You
chair.
can sit.
Okay,
Unless you
No,
need to
that's
point
right
to
there.
the,
okay. All right.
no, the one at the table right
Okay.
there. Yeah,
All right.
good.
All right, the question I have is that because of my house location where it is, it seems like I'm always getting hit with the tank, the water tank and things like that, and have not been considered in the situation. I can understand, and I'm not denying the need for emergency information there. I have no problem there at all, okay? My problem is that the water tank has been a lightning magnet. And when I first moved into the house after they put the water tank in, I went through 10 TVs. Every time there was a lightning storm, a TV blew, okay? Because the house is on the same plane as the water tank, okay? they did go in and put a lightning rod on the water tank, and I stopped having any more TVs blowing up. After 10, it became a little costly, okay? But the thing is that with this new pole, I don't see having a lightning rod to prevent something from happening from this pole, because the pole is going to even be higher than the water tank. So now what happens is that if you look around the water tank, 4 or 5 trees have been hit and are dying because they've been hit because of lightning. The reason why they picked the water tank area was because it was the highest area in the town at that point, okay? So I understand why they did it, even though I got them to at least paint the water tank blue, okay? And put some trees in. But this here, I'm sorry, but I don't see any reference to any lightning rod. I don't see any reference for the fact that they're putting this in front. Well, you're getting very close to the road. And I'm just saying is that I question, this isn't my map or whatever it is, but see where he's mentioned about this being steep over here. Well, how steep is it? My question for you is that it would have been much better if it was over to the west, okay, than in front of the water tank. And I know that he's saying that there's question about the cars or whatever it is, but that's one problem, all right? That's one thing that I see, okay? The other thing is the propane tank. You're talking about 500 gallons propane tank being in the front of the water tank. Now, my question again is, I've seen propane fires, and like I said, this whole area is like a magic lightning rod. So my question is, what's going to prevent this propane tank from exploding, from being hit by lightning? I don't see anything in the plan anywhere for protection for the property there. And I feel that you have to consider these types of things, because if it was over, and I know he's saying it's steep and stuff like that, but if it was over here, at least it'd be further into the woods, I'm saying, and the propane tank wouldn't be right in the front of the road there. And that's my concern. I have a couple of concerns. I mean, I realize that this type of thing, unfortunately, I'm just one person. But my feeling is that you're not considering the overall view of what's going to happen if, number one, there's a fire. Number two is that with the fact of being so close to the road, and where the propane tank is, and where, if anything, a lightning rod. And so I'm just saying, I don't care if it's wood or metal for the pole, that doesn't bother me, okay? My only concern is that it's up there in the air, and being the highest point in Woodbridge, okay, it's asking for being hit. And I don't want to go back to have 10 more TVs being blown because you haven't got anything to accomplish to take care of this. And I didn't know it when they put the water tank in until after, and then I kept on going, and I said, something's not right, and then I kept on keeping track of it, and every time my TV blew, we had a lightning storm. So I finally said, and they finally went, and took me almost 5 years to get them to put a lightning rod in, but they put one in. I put one at my house, but it didn't make any difference. The water tank was so large that it just sent me. So anyway, is there any questions that you have for me?
No?
Duly noted.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. And part of our consideration. We need to consider the zoning aspects of
I
that
understand.
and the hardships of the land. And, you know, is the propensity to be hit by a lightning another one of the hardships we have to consider?
Yeah,
And
cause
it
this
seems
is, like I
it
said, every lightning storm,
I can
So-
speak to the grounding issue if it's okay. These aren't construction drawings, they're specific to this application for the variance. However, I can tell you that this facility will have its own grounding system. The antenna at the top, which is the highest point, will have a ground feed coming off of it and tying into a grounding system that would encompass this whole entire facility.
okay, but the grounding system, can I ask you one question? I apologize for interrupting, okay? Is that going to trap all the lightning in that thing, or is it going to be dispersed?
And it will be directed into the ground.
Yeah.
Correct. That's
But
what
I'm saying
it's
is
designed.
but it's gonna be directed to dissipate it, correct? Is that what you're saying? Because if it's gonna direct it into the ground, hi house, thank you for blowing up another TV. Because that's exactly what happened before. It blew up.
But you said the lightning rod at the water tower
Yeah.
worked, correct?
Got after
Okay, so a
after
lightning
10
rod,
years,
so we
after
know-
10 years, yeah.
But we know that from engineering standpoint, that a lightning rod of some sort will work.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I just wanna make sure that I'm
I
asking about the
understood,
system.
But you have evidence that it works.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so that's all I wanna know is about the system itself, because I didn't want it to be like going into just a hole, you know, and then not having any place to dissipate and come across the street and, you know, and blow up a few more TVs. I got it fixed once, you know.
Your antenna is basically like another big lightning rod, right? It's meant to be hit by lightning and withstand it.
Yes, yes. And
So you're getting a better
it's tied
lightning
into
rod now.
to the
But-
grounding system.
But it's clearly going to stop transmitting, correct, from the water, it's from that area, you're saying?
It'll be dispersed into the ground at its location.
It should be an improvement, it sounds.
I hope so,
What-
like I said.
What about the propane tank in terms of lightning, like she said, is that any precaution with that, or? I know this is much higher, you'd expect this to be hit before the propane tank, but still.
A direct hit on the propane tank, I could say that that's probably very, very rare, but the tank itself will be grounded in part of that grounding system.
It'll be part of that ground.
Yes.
All right,
And is it possible to have because it looks like the antenna's at the far end and there's a bit of space between that fenced-in area and the propane tank. Is it possible to have the propane tank, you know, sort of further, at least looking at it from this, further to the, that would be the east, I guess?
Well, there are rules about propane tanks,
Right.
about two sources of ignition,
Mm-hmm.
which I suspect is the reason why the propane tank is set off from the
That's-
equipment shelter.
That's correct.
The good news is that, and the reason why it's set off is that the propane tanks, all propane tanks, whether it's the 20-pound one underneath your grill, or the one that may serve your generator or your furnace, have a relief valve that, should it become on fire or stressed in any kind, it gives of itself. And what it gives of itself is a flammable gas. But the idea is to have it vent as opposed to explode. So that's the reason why it has to be removed from a source of ignition in the equipment shed or the equipment area. And also it's designed to be a protective device.
And sir, you had spoken up during this, so do you want to just sign in and identify yourself?
Sure. I don't have any testimony yet.
Okay, that's.
name is Albert Bellucci. I'm part of the ad hoc radio committee,
Okay,
So-
thank you.
here to represent.
Okay. Do we have any further questions or further testimony? So,
Okay. we're done.
move we close the hearing and start. Okay,
So, all right, I'll move that we close.
I'll second that.
okay. Thoughts, comments?
It sounds like there seems to be the most logical location based on the terrain. And it does seem like the light, and she certainly brought up a serious concern, but it sounds like they're going to address it as well as they can. Sometimes these things have to be modified later on, they learn that it's not adequate, but I can imagine the radio tower, you don't want it to be knocked out by lightning every few weeks, so they're gonna do the best lightning system they can, I would think, you know.
To your point, is that our realm?
Right.
We're here to discuss variance to these aspects, so.
Well, our realm does include considering all of the hardships, and the height of the area is potentially a conflicting hardship. It's also the benefit of, as I understand it, of why they want the tower there. It makes sense you wanted it the highest location. But yeah, I think it is important to focus on the physical hardships.
But I think he's pointed out that this may be, for a lot of reasons, the logical location.
Makes sense to me.
Well, the other thing is that the variance is, I forgot what it is specifically.
It's like,
It's not bad.
Okay, so the variance is what, 19 feet? So if you move, let's just for the sake of argument, say you moved it 19 feet. The thing would still be up in the air, or all the other things would be exactly
Yeah.
the same. The 19
Exactly.
feet ain't gonna change nothing.
That's right.
So, interesting, but not germane.
Yeah.
Exactly.
another thing that I know is, at least for the 75-foot setback, it appears as if the tower and the propane tank are both beyond the 75-foot setback, and it's just part of the equipment area that's inside of the setback area.
Yeah, not everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other thoughts, comments?
I'd only like to reassure you about what I know about grounding and towers. It's incredibly robust. The size of the conductors that are used anticipate an effective grounding system. The connections that from one thing to another are frequently CAD welded together. They don't rely upon a mechanical connection. It's actually a welded connection, and it is subject. All of this is subject to inspection by the town's building inspector. So, the tower that we just recently did at the police station, of which this will be a component part of that system, had the robustness of the grounding system was, as in cell phone towers or anything else like that, is part and parcel in a tested assembly.
It's good.
Any other thoughts or comments? Someone want to make a motion either to approve or deny?
I'll move that we approve the application.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Call the vote. All in favor? Aye.
Okay, done.
The statutory reasons for hardship are the ones that you stated in the course.
Right, you know, especially it seems like the grade and the location of the water tower are the key statutory, plus the requirement that it be at a high location.
And that, yeah,
So we have 20 feet away from the water tower.
Right.
So,
Per
do we
the-
have-
Yes,
do we have to vote on
Submission of
the minutes of the last meeting?
right, so, do we have a did you just move it?
Yes,
Okay.
let's move to vote on the minutes of the last meeting.
Okay, a second,
May
I wasn't here
14th.
for that.
I wasn't here.
second? All in favor,
Well, but-
or any discussion?
Well, no, this discussion is that we don't, I don't know if we have enough people who are actually present.
Yeah.
That's
We
true.
have to do it.
That's true. Oh, we have 3 people.
We
Jeff,
table, we table that.
so,
All right,
But
so you,
you've got a quorum of
okay.
3.
yeah,
I
we
think
can,
you could.
Okay, then,
Yeah.
then so be it.
I think we can.
right, so there's no
Not a life
modifications
investment.
for the minutes that anyone
Not
noted?
without Lynn.
Okay, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any other business?
We'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
Adjourn.
Good
Next
job.
time we meet
Thank
in
you very
the
much.
cafeteria next time.
Right.
Yes,
The
in the
17th.
cafeteria.